Honestly, he's just kind of an embarrassment sometimes. She said it like I wasn't even there. Like I hadn't spent the last hour clinging to the edges of the party, swirling ice in my glass, and pretending I couldn't hear the word fiancé tossed around like some accessory she picked up from the clearance shelf. I hadn't planned to eavesdrop. I was just looking for the restroom. But there she was, my fiancée, Lyra, holding court in the hallway just off the balcony. 3 of her co-workers stood around her, half lit by string lights, sipping champagne with thin, gloved fingers. I mean, he repairs clocks, she said, and then actually giggled. Like, who does that anymore? It's not a job, I don't know. It's like dating a bar of soap. They laughed, even the one who seemed like she wanted to be polite. And I just stood there, behind a corner, invisible. My cheeks hot, my throat dry, my hands shaking, not with rage, not yet, but with something far worse. Shame. I backed away quietly, walked past the glass doors, picked up my coat from the rack I wasn't supposed to use because it was staff only, and I sat on a cold concrete step behind the venue, next to a recycling bin full of expensive wine bottles and crumpled shrimp skewers. My phone buzzed. Lyra, where'd you disappear to? Come take pics with us. I didn't reply. Instead, I stared at her last message from earlier that day. Just be yourself tonight. Don't overthink anything. I love you. Maybe I should have laughed. Maybe I should have screamed. But instead, I did something that surprised even me. I walked back inside, and I ended the engagement in the middle of a toast. I don't remember walking back into that room. I don't remember brushing past the server with the smoked salmon tray or the woman in the glittering green dress who gasped when I bumped her elbow. My legs moved, but my mind was somewhere else, somewhere darker and heavier. I wasn't thinking clearly, and at the same time, I've never been more certain of what I was about to do. They were all gathered now. 30, maybe 40 people. Her team, her boss, the creative leads, some clients, all dressed in evening black, sipping champagne under the soft glow of Edison bulbs. The music had quieted, replaced by the clink of glassware and that artificial hush that falls right before a performance. And there she was, Lyra, standing front and center next to her smirking manager, both holding crystal flutes. Her makeup perfect, her back impossibly straight. If you didn't know her, you'd think she was royalty. If you did know her, you might still think that, unless you just overheard her mock the person who built a life around loving her. Her voice rang out. I just want to say, she began, beaming with that polished, calculated confidence. This year has been incredible. Our team has done amazing things, and tonight is about celebrating all the people who made it possible. I moved toward her slowly. No one noticed at first, not until I was right there beside her, uninvited, unintroduced, just standing in my scuffed brown boots with my hands in my coat pockets like some misplaced delivery guy who accidentally wandered into the wrong floor. Lyra's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. Just a twitch. But I saw it. Oh, and of course, she recovered quickly, wrapping an arm around my waist. My fiancé, Ellis, is here. Everyone give him a round of applause for surviving a room full of extroverts. Polite chuckles. The kind that disappear faster than steam. Then glasses raised. Cheers all around. And that's when I said it. Still smiling, still calm. I won't be your fiancé for much longer. Silence. I heard someone laugh, nervously, like it must be a joke. I wasn't joking. She thinks I'm an embarrassment, I continued, louder this time. Said it herself. Right out there, next to the balcony. Said I fix clocks, and that makes me some kind of novelty. Her little antique man. I turned to her, and her face was flat now. Blank. Defensive. So here, I said, reaching into my coat pocket and pulling out the ring box, the same one I had hidden under our floorboards for 2 weeks before proposing. I won't be your punchline anymore. And I dropped it right into the champagne flute still in her hand. The glass cracked. No one moved. No one breathed. Then I turned and walked out, again. But this time, I didn't stop at the concrete steps. I didn't check my phone. I didn't cry. I got into my car, started the engine with trembling fingers, and let myself drive away from someone I once thought I'd grow old beside. And still, that wasn't the worst part. That came later. The thing about adrenaline is that it doesn't last. It leaves you shaky, empty, questioning everything that just happened. 10 minutes after I drove off, I pulled into the first dimly lit parking lot I could find. A 24-hour laundromat with flickering signage and a busted vending machine humming like a dying wasp. I sat there with the engine off, windows fogging up from my breath, heart thumping like it hadn't gotten the memo that the show was over. Then my phone buzzed. Once, twice, then again. 27 missed notifications in less than 5 minutes. Calls, texts, WhatsApp, Instagram, even an old messenger ping from someone I hadn't spoken to in years. Word had spread fast. At the top of the flood? Lyra. Lyra. Ellis, what the hell are you doing? Lyra. Where are you? Lyra. I'm trying to fix this, but you're making it impossible. Lyra. Don't do something we both regret. It took everything in me not to throw the phone through the windshield. Not because of what she said, but because of what she didn't. No apology. No admission. Just damage control. PR mode. Like I'd embarrassed her by calling out what she thought she could keep private. I turned off notifications and leaned my head back. That's when I remembered her work laptop was connected to our home Wi-Fi. Stupid detail, but we'd set it up together. She hated remembering passwords, so I handled all the tech stuff. Gave her an automatic cloud backup, remote access, even synced her work messages to her tablet so she could respond from the kitchen while eating cereal. In hindsight, I should have known. Against every instinct, I opened the laptop resting in my back seat. Yeah, I'd taken it. Petty? Maybe. But after what she did, I didn't feel guilty. I tethered it to my phone's hotspot, logged into her Slack account, the one she forgot to log out of, and clicked on the thread named PR Squad Nail Polish. The most recent message? Lyra, if anyone posts clips or pics from tonight, please blur out Ellis. I don't want this turning into a circus. Followed by laughing emojis. Someone had even dropped a clown gif. She hadn't just humiliated me in front of her coworkers. She was actively preserving her image while treating me like an inconvenience she couldn't delete fast enough. But what really crushed me was the voice message. 62 seconds. I clicked play. Her voice, slightly breathless, tipsy but composed. God, I don't even know what happened. He's always been dramatic, but this was next level. I mean, I get that he's insecure about the whole clock thing, but like, is that my fault? I can't babysit his ego forever. Then laughter. From someone in the background. A man's voice, muffled, but unmistakably familiar. Grant, her co-lead. The one who always emailed her after hours with urgent questions. I might just stay at yours tonight if that's okay, Lyra added. I don't want to deal with him if he comes back. The message ended. My chest felt tight. Not fiery, not even angry anymore. Just hollow. Like she'd already replaced me in her head, and all I was now was an awkward mistake she was trying to delete from the narrative. I closed the laptop and sat in silence for a while. I had just one question echoing inside me. How long had she been talking about me like this? And the answer would come sooner than I ever imagined, from someone I least expected. I was still in the laundromat parking lot when my old Honda's gas warning light blinked on. I hadn't even noticed how low I was. Just like I hadn't noticed how far I'd sunk into this version of myself. The Ellis who made himself smaller, quieter, easier to ignore so she could shine brighter. I started the engine and headed back toward my place. No, our place. At least for now. The plan was simple. Get in, grab my duffel bag, maybe a few tools from the shop, and get out. I'd stay at Milo's place for a few nights. He owed me anyway for building his record cabinet last fall. He always said I could crash if things blew up. I'd just never expected the explosion to come from inside my own engagement. When I pulled up to the apartment, the lights were off. No car in the space. She wasn't home yet. I thought that would bring relief. Instead, it made my stomach twist. I moved quickly, unlocked the door, grabbed the bag from the closet, tossed in underwear, 2 flannels, my shaving kit. I opened the nightstand and stopped. Still sitting there was the little leather notebook I'd bought when I started restoring my first lawn case clock. Inside were notes, sketches, diagrams, and halfway through, a folded piece of paper. An old letter from Lyra. One she'd written on our 2nd anniversary. You have this way of making broken things feel important again. I love that. I love you. I folded it slowly, put it back, and kept packing. Then the knock came. Not the soft kind. It was sharp. Too quick. I froze, bag halfway zipped. I opened the door. It wasn't Lyra. It was Grant. He looked smug. Not sheepish or apologetic. Just a little too comfortable, like this wasn't the first time he'd stood at my doorstep. He held a paper bag with some groceries in one hand. oat milk, avocado, some imported pasta brand Lyra always insisted tasted better than regular, and a phone in the other. "Oh," he said, eyes scanning me up and down. "Didn't realize you'd still be here." I didn't move. "She's not home." He smiled. "I know." I waited for him to say something else. Maybe a half-baked excuse, a fake apology, anything. But instead, he looked over my shoulder, noticed the packed bag, and said, "That for tonight? Or permanent?" "None of your business." He gave a lazy shrug. "Look, man, I'm not here to fight. I just thought I'd pick up a few things for Lyra. Well, she's having a rough time." My laugh was bitter before I could stop it. "Yeah, must be awful. Being called out for calling your fiancée a joke." Grant leaned against the doorframe like we were having coffee. "You know, it's wild how someone like you ended up with someone like her for this long." I stepped closer. "What's that supposed to mean?" He didn't blink. "I mean, I've read the group chat. The things she said. The way she talks about your workshop like it's a toy box. It wasn't just tonight, man. This wasn't new." My skin went cold. "She's been rewriting your story for months," he said, finally straightening up. "Telling everyone you're more like a placeholder than a partner. Honestly, I thought you knew." I didn't reply. I couldn't. My head was buzzing. "Anyway," he added, lifting the bag, "she left a toothbrush here. I'll just grab it when she's back." I slammed the door in his face. Locked it. Then locked it again. I backed away slowly, hands trembling, staring at the doorknob like it might twist open again. This wasn't just betrayal. It was mockery. Premeditated, polished, socially packaged mockery. And the worst part? It had been going on right under my nose. While I fixed clocks, wiped grease from my knuckles, and wrote her love notes she probably read out loud for entertainment at wine nights. But I wasn't done yet. Not even close. Because if she wanted to curate an image, to play pretend for her friends, clients, and co-workers, I was about to hand her the one thing that couldn't be rebranded. The truth. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even try. I sat at the kitchen table until sunrise, surrounded by her curated life. The marble fruit bowl she never filled with fruit, the coffee table books she never opened, the framed quote above the espresso machine that said, "Tell your story before someone else does." That one stung more than I want to admit. By 6:03 a.m., I had written the email. No, not an angry rant. Not a screed. I'm not an idiot. You scream, they call you unhinged. You type in all caps, you're the problem. I knew I had to be smarter than that. So I wrote the kind of message that was impossible to twist. Calm, factual, clinical almost. I included screenshots, transcripts, timestamps, even the audio file of her voice message that I had saved before logging out of her Slack. Then I hit send. To Lyra's boss, to the managing partner, to the client who'd co-hosted the event, and to Lyra herself. The subject line read, "Professionalism and private character. A few things you might want to know." Then I packed the rest of my things. No theatrics, just essentials. The notebooks, my grandfather's tools, the photos that still meant something to me, even if they didn't anymore to her. Around 9 a.m., the calls started. First her boss, then someone from HR, then Lyra herself. I ignored every one of them. I wanted the silence to speak louder than anything I could say. At 9:42, I got a new voicemail from her. Not frantic this time, not angry, just eerily composed. "I can't believe you'd do this. You're burning down my career over a stupid moment. You've always been sensitive, Ellis, but this is revenge. I don't even recognize you." I played it 3 times. Not because I didn't believe it, but because it was such a perfect, distilled example of her entire mindset. She truly didn't see it. She thought the problem was that I'd reacted, not that she'd humiliated me in the first place. And maybe that would have been the end of it. But Lyra wasn't the type to go down quietly. At 10:11 a.m., I got a notification that my personal business Instagram, the one for my clock restoration, had been tagged in a story by one of her friends. Curious, I opened it. It was a blurry picture of me taken at the rooftop party. I was half turned away, mid-sentence, looking like a lost kid in a suit that didn't quite fit. The caption read, "When your man builds clocks but tries to dismantle your career. Triangular flag mantelpiece clock." The story had been up for 7 hours already. It had views in the thousands. My stomach turned, not out of embarrassment, that had dried up hours ago, but out of the realization that this was never going to be clean. Not with her. She wasn't just trying to survive the fallout. She was trying to spin it, to paint me as the bitter ex who couldn't handle a joke. The insecure artisan with a fragile ego who threw a tantrum when his girlfriend dared to have a sense of humor. And people were buying it. That's when I made the decision. I opened my phone, hit record, and started talking. I didn't name names. I didn't insult her. I didn't accuse. I just told the story, my story, from my perspective, what she said at the party, what I overheard, what it felt like to be treated like a project, what it feels like to be dismissed in public by someone you trusted in private. I posted it to my business page. I expected it to get a few likes, maybe some support from friends. Instead, it exploded. By midnight, it had 73,000 views, then 180,000, then 250,000. Comments flooded in. Not pity, not rage, just people who understood, who'd felt small in relationships where they were supposed to feel safe, who'd been laughed at in rooms where they were promised love. And the best part? Lyra couldn't spin it, not without looking even worse. She called me twice that night. I didn't answer. The next morning, my voicemail was full again. This time, her voice cracked. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I didn't know you'd take it that way. Can we just talk? I need to explain. I miss you. She didn't miss me. She missed control, the narrative, the advantage. But I was already gone. And what neither of us realized at the time was that someone else had been watching it all unfold. Someone who knew Lyra far better than I ever did. And they were about to tell me everything. It had been 3 days since I posted the video. 3 days since my phone became a war zone of comments, messages, and forwarded screenshots of people taking sides, most of them in mine, surprisingly. I didn't ask for a spotlight. I certainly didn't want to become some poster child for emotionally sidelined partners. But something about what I shared hit a nerve with people. And once the story left my mouth, it wasn't just my story anymore. That morning I was at a coffee shop near the train station, one of those tucked-away places where nobody tries too hard. No neon signs, no jazz playlist, just quiet chatter and the occasional hiss of the espresso machine. I was in the corner seat by the window, nursing a lukewarm coffee I didn't even want, when a shadow fell across the table. She had a red umbrella, closed, dry, but she held it like a walking stick, fingers wrapped too tightly around the curve. Her coat was too nice for the neighborhood, her eyes sharper than her smile. Ellis. I looked up, confused. I'm Ivy. I used to work with Lyra. Do you have a minute? I hesitated, half suspecting this was some trap, an ambush on behalf of the image-conscious PR queen who now had a smudge on her perfect reputation. But something in Ivy's tone didn't match the polish. She sounded tired, tense, like she wasn't sure if she was going to sit down or turn around and bolt. I gestured to the seat across from me. She didn't order anything, just sat, umbrella resting across her lap like a sword. I saw your video, she said, and I need to tell you something. Not to help you, not to hurt her, just because someone should. I didn't speak. I didn't want to break the spell. I was Lyra's roommate in college, she continued, and later, her co-worker. We were close, until I wasn't useful anymore. That's how she works. She builds these little worlds around herself, relationships, careers, identities, and when something stops serving the image, she cuts it off like a loose thread. I frowned. What does this have to do with me? She did the same thing to a guy named Marcus, Ivy said. 2 years before she met you. Same story, different props. He was a barista who built furniture in his garage. Sweet, thoughtful. She paraded him around until someone in her circle mocked his splintered hands and paint-stained jeans. And after that, she couldn't look at him the same. Started calling him her Pinterest face. Left him without warning. I blinked. That's dark. But it's not really. She's not who you think she is. Ivy cut in, lowering her voice. She builds personas like ad campaigns. The polished, supportive girlfriend. The misunderstood artist's muse. And when it starts to get too real, when people stop admiring her and start depending on her, she panics. Then she performs. She'll play victim. She'll cry. But she'll never take responsibility. My jaw tensed. Why are you telling me this now? Because I watched her destroy people and rewrite the wreckage, Ivy said. And when I saw your video, I realized she's finally met someone who didn't just disappear quietly. You told your story before she could erase it. She reached into her coat, pulled out a flash drive, and placed it gently on the table. That has emails, screenshots, messages, some from your engagement, most from before. She's not just cruel, she's calculated. If you're going to walk away, you deserve to do it with open eyes. I stared at the little piece of plastic like it might explode. Then Ivy stood. She's not used to losing, and she's definitely not used to being seen for who she really is. With that, she walked out, red umbrella swinging at her side like a warning. I didn't chase her. I didn't even touch the drive for 10 full minutes. When I finally plugged it into my laptop back at Milo's, what I found made my skin crawl. Threads of conversations about me before the rooftop party. Jokes about my fix-it face. Memes of old men with clocks, sent in private chats with captions like, Ellis in 5 years still trying to be relevant. But the worst part? She'd been planning to leave me. Not if, not maybe. She had a folder in her inbox called Post-Ellis PR Plan. Draft captions. Pre-approved statements. Even a mock-up for a blog post called, Why Walking Away Isn't Weak. She wasn't just going to break my heart. She was going to market it. There's a certain numbness that settles in when you realize you were never really seen by the person you gave everything to. When the memories, the inside jokes, the soft mornings and late-night arguments, they weren't building a life together. They were just background noise to someone else's performance. And now, I had the script. The literal one. The post-Ellis PR plan. I must have read through it 5 times. Not out of disbelief. No, by that point, I was well past disbelief. It was something colder, cleaner, like stepping out of a burning house barefoot, too shocked to feel the glass under your heels. There were statements drafted like press releases. We grew apart. Sometimes two people just want different things. I'll always care about Ellis, but I've learned I need to prioritize myself. Then there were the posts. A photo of her sitting cross-legged on a windowsill, coffee mug in hand, captioned, Healing isn't linear. A carousel of her smiling at some retreat, paired with, stepping into the next chapter. A quote slide, classic beige background, reading, Some people come into your life to teach you how strong you are when they leave. Every pixel curated to make her look brave, empowered, uplifted, and not a single one mentioned the guy she used as a stepping stone to get there. That night, I didn't sleep again. I wasn't angry. I wasn't crying. I felt like a ghost haunting a past I hadn't realized was already dead. So I did the only thing I could think to do. I started building. My hands needed something to do. My brain needed a project that wasn't self-destruction. I went to Milo's garage, which I was now semi-living in, pulled the tarp off an old pine wood table we'd been meaning to restore, and I worked. I sanded, filed, measured. I didn't think about her face. I didn't think about Grant. I didn't think about the video, the views, or the comments flooding in from strangers who now had opinions. I thought about the last time I felt proud of something that didn't require anyone's approval. By the time the sun rose, I had built a box. It wasn't fancy, just clean lines, solid weight, brass hinges. But it was strong, and it was mine. I printed out every email, every message, the voice memo transcript, the post-Ellis PR plan, the clown meme her coworker sent. All of it. I placed the stack inside the box and shut it. Then I filmed one last video. I sat at Milo's workbench, no fancy setup. Just me. My voice. The box. I'm not here to burn anyone, I said. I'm not here to expose, or attack, or drag anyone through the mud. But I am here to bury something. Not my past. Not my heartbreak. What I'm burying is the version of me I kept shrinking so someone else could stand taller. I opened the box for a moment. Showed the papers. Showed the ring. Then I closed it again. I'm not broken. I fix broken things. I restore them. But some things, some people, aren't meant to be fixed. And that's okay. I carried the box outside. Dug a shallow grave under a crooked old apple tree behind Milo's garage. I placed the box inside. Covered it with earth. No theatrics. No music. Just the sound of birds waking up to a world that didn't care what Lyra posted next. The video went live an hour later. It didn't go viral like the first one. It didn't have drama or betrayal. It was quiet, sincere, final, and that made it hit harder. The comments were different this time. Less outrage, more peace. People thanking me not for the gossip, but for the closure. For showing that dignity doesn't mean silence. That walking away isn't weakness. That healing doesn't need an aesthetic. Lyra never publicly responded, but she did block me on every platform. And someone anonymously deleted the clown meme from that Slack thread. I thought that would be the end. But 2 days later, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. Inside, just 6 words. She did the same to me. And a photo of Lyra with a different man. Same rooftop. Same party pose. Same empty smile. I stared at the photo for a long time. The grainy image was creased down the middle, like it had been folded and unfolded too many times by someone who wasn't sure if they wanted to keep it or burn it. Lyra stood under a string of golden lights, wine glass in hand, arm looped casually through that of another man. He looked young, impressed, just like I probably did the first time she brought me to one of her glittering events. The caption on the back, written in sharp blue ink, read only, March, 2 years ago. I was you. That hit harder than any voicemail or text ever could. I didn't try to track the sender down. I didn't need to. Their message was clear. This wasn't about me. It was a pattern, a performance, a rotating role that I'd simply aged out of, and I was finally done playing it. In the weeks that followed, things got quiet. Blissfully, beautifully quiet. Lyra's PR team did what they do best, spun silence into strength. She posted cryptic quotes, unfollowed half her network, archived photos. But she never addressed anything publicly. Maybe she thought ignoring it would let it fade. And maybe, to her audience, it did. But not to me. And strangely, I'm grateful for that. I took the momentum from that storm and poured it into the one thing that never lied to me, my work. I moved out of Milo's garage and into a tiny workshop/apartment in the edge of town. Nothing fancy, exposed brick, low ceilings, a cat that visits from the alley but refuses to commit. I started documenting restorations. Not for virality, just for me. Turns out people like watching things come back to life. They find comfort in it. So did I. A month after moving in, I found a busted 1880s mantel clock at a flea market. The wood was chipped, hands missing, mechanism jammed with rust. The seller said it was useless. I smiled. Paid in cash. That clock took me 6 weekends to fix. I sanded the case by hand. Rebuilt the movement piece by piece. Recast the missing minute hand from brass scrap. I didn't rush. I didn't overthink. I didn't question whether it would be admired. I just made it whole again. And when I finished, I set it on the shelf by the window. Every hour, it chimes with a soft, unassuming ring. A reminder that time keeps moving, even when people don't. One morning, while I was filming a restoration video, I got an email. Subject line: Your story helped me walk away. It was from someone I'll never meet. She said she saw herself in my silence. That my words made her leave someone who kept her small. Said she watched that final video, the one with the wooden box, 5 times before packing her bags. That message stayed with me longer than any pain ever did. Because the truth is, some stories don't end with revenge, or retribution, or public downfall. Sometimes, the real win is just walking away intact, with your head high and your voice finally your own. Lyra once told me I made broken things feel important. But the truth is, I was never the broken one. I was just the clockmaker. And I'm finally on my own time now.